Good morning everyone, welcome to Tathastu-ICS. As you know, Tathastu-ICS is running a Prelims AADHARSHILA program, and as part of that I am taking the Histरङ series. I have already made 2 videos related to ancient history and medieval history and its trend analysis as part of this, and today I will be making the 3rd video, that is the trend analysis of questions asked in modern history portion. So let's start with the modern history part. I will be discussing the questions asked, their solution, the number of questions asked, as well as the focus areas which you need to focus for the 2024 prelims. If we see the number of questions asked in prelims from modern history, in last 2 years very few questions have been asked from modern history. Only 3 and 4 questions were asked. If we see before 8, 9, 5, it went in fact to 13. It means you just imagine 26 marks alone from modern history portion, then 7 and 6. So traditionally if we see, modern history was the portion from which UPSC was asking more questions, but in last 2 years we have seen a drought of questions from modern history. But then, as you know, UPSC is quite unpredictable, uncertain. It can again ask the question, more question from modern. It can change the rule of the game anytime, so we cannot take this portion lightly. In addition, modern history is an area which is easy to score for the students. It is easy to remember, easy to understand and easy to score. Let's see the different type of questions which have been asked 2016 onwards. The Swadeshi and boycott were adopted as methods of struggle for the first time during. So it is asking Swadeshi and boycott as method of struggle for first time. As you know, it is during the Swadeshi movement which was launched against the partition of Bengal, which was announced by Lord Curzon in July 1905. So the answer would be against the partition of Bengal. Second question is, Satyashodhak Samaj organized. Satyashodhak Samaj or Truth Seeker Society was an organization started by Jyotiba Phule in 1873 in Pune. So if we see the place itself, you can easily eliminate. If you know that it was started by Phule, who was from Maharashtra, it is first is Bihar, cannot be there, Gujarat cannot be there, Punjab cannot be there, an anti-caste movement in Maharashtra. And what was the aim of this Satyashodhak Samaj? To work for the social, educational, political rights of the downtrodden, Dalits, untouchables, to work for their civil liberties. Next question is, consider the following. Calcutta Unitarian Committee. This Unitarian is a religious belief where you believe in one God, unitary nature of the God. It was formed in 1821. Calcutta Unitarian Committee. Who were the people associated with this? Raja Ram Mohan Rai was associated with this. Dwarkanath Tagore were there. William Adams was there. Then in American War of Independence, if we see, Thomas Jefferson was also influenced by Unitarian belief. Thomas Jefferson was the person who had written, "All men are created equal." So next is Tabernacle of New Dispensation, and next is Indian Reform Association. Question is, Keshav Chandra Sen is associated with establishment of which of the following? It is talking about the establishment. You just imagine, Keshav Chandra Sen was himself born in 1838 and Calcutta Unitarian Committee was formed in 1821. So he can never be associated with establishment of Calcutta Unitarian Committee. The next 2 options are correct. In 1881, he had established this new dispensation or Nav Vidhan as it was called, and he was also associated with Indian Reform Association, which led to increase in the marriage age. Increase in marriage age, basically Native Marriage Act of 1872 was passed because of the efforts of Keshav Chandra Sen and Indian Reform Association. So he was associated with 2 and 3. Answer is 2 and 3. If we see the nature of questions, what type of questions are being asked? One is from the movement, various movements which were launched, then socio-religious reform movement, then organizations. Organization is an area, socio-religious reform is an area from which UPSC continuously asks questions, as you will see throughout the different years. Seeing the next question, what was the main reason for the split? Main reason for the split of Congress in 1907, which is also called Surat split, as it happened in Surat. See, there were two groups within the Indian National Congress, moderates and extremists, and there were ideological differences between the two. They differed on the aim, the methods, the objectives, the ideologies. All these things were different, and that's why this split happened. So the answer is introduction of communalism. No, it is not related to this. Extremist, lack of faith in the capacity of the moderates to negotiate. Yes, this is correct. Extremists said that these moderates, they follow the policy of mendicancy, that is the policy of begging before the British, and they did not agree with them. So yes, the answer B is correct. It is not at all related to these things. The Montagu-Chelmsford proposals were related to this. This is a very simple question. It was related to constitutional reforms. Based on this Montagu-Chelmsford proposals, 1919 Act was brought. So this is related to constitutional reforms. Easy question. The plan of Sir Stafford Cripps envisaged that after the Second World War, as you know, Cripps mission had come in 1942. Why it was sent? It was sent to seek the support of the Indians in the war efforts, the efforts of the British in 1942. And what it granted? It talked about India should be given dominion status. It did not talk about complete independence, neither it talked about partitioning into two before granting. India should be made a republic with the condition that there was nothing like this. It basically talked about India will be given dominion status after the war. Nothing before the war was promised, and that's why it did not succeed. So these were the 6 questions asked from 2016. Who among the following were associated with introduction of Rayyatwari? As you know, there were a number of land revenue settlement. One of them was Rayyatwari. Permanent settlement was there, Zamindari system which is called, then Rayyatwari was there, Mahalwari was there. So if we take Rayyatwari system, who were associated? See, Lord Cornwallis cannot be answered because he was associated with Zamindari system. Alexander Reed, yes. Thomas Munro, yes. Alexander Reed was the person who in 1792 introduced this in the Barah Mahal region of the Madras Presidency. So answer is Alexander Reed and Thomas Munro, and this was implemented where? In Madras Presidency. So answer is 2 and 3. The Trade Dispute Act of 1929 provided for, this is a difficult question not given in the routine book. From where UPSC had asked this question? From the book Modern India by Sumit Sarkar, who is a Marxist historian. So he had talked about this in his book, and the correct answer for this is a system of tribunals and a ban on strikes. Trade Dispute Act of 1929. With reference to the Indian freedom struggle, consider the following events. Mutiny in Royal Indian Navy, it happened in 1946. Quit India movement launched in 1942. Second Roundtable Conference, 1931. So if we see the chronological order, correct chronological order of the above events, 3, 2, 1. That is answer C is correct. UPSC also asks these type of order, that is arrange them into chronological order. These type of questions are often asked by UPSC. If we see the next question, consider the following statements. The Factories Act 1881 was passed with a view to fix the wages of industrial workers and to allow the workers to form trade union. You just think about fixing the wages at that point of time. Minimum Wage Act was brought quite later. It was not at all in 1881. There was no talk of even fixing the wage. So it cannot be this wage. Second thing is N.M. Lokhande was a pioneer in organizing the labor movement in British India. This is correct. Why? Because he had founded Bombay Mill Hands Association. That is mill hands, that is those who are working in mill, the labor force, in 1890. So yes, he was a pioneer in the labor movement in British India. So answer is only B. First statement is not correct. If we see the nature of questions which are being asked, different acts, Trade Dispute Act, Factory Act, then arranging the important events in chronological order is another thing, then various the policies brought by the British, especially the economic policies like Rayatwari settlement, we will see later. It also asked about commercialization of agriculture. So different policies, economic policies brought by British have been also asked by the UPSC repeatedly. Moving to the next question, the object of the Butler Committee of 1927 was, it was basically formed to improve the relationship between Government of India and the Indian states. Basically the princely states and the Government of India, it was established to improve the relation between the two. So answer should be D in this case. Consider the following pairs. Radhakant Dev, he was the first president of the British Indian Association. This is correct. British Indian Association was formed in 1851. This was the first group which was exclusively composed of Indians. So yes, Radhakant Dev was the first president. Second is Gazalu Lakshmi Narasu Chetty, that is G.L. Chetty, was the founder of Madras Mahajan Sabha. You may be knowing Madras Mahajan Sabha was formed in 1884 and G.L. Chetty was not associated with this, rather G.L. Chetty was associated with Madras Native Association. He was not associated with Madras Mahajan Sabha. So this answer is, this option is wrong. Third is Surendranath Banerjee was founder of the Indian Association. So this is also correct. Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose were associated with this. So answer is 1 and 3. B. 37. B. As you see, political organizations are something which are asked by UPSC again and again. As I was talking about, G.L. Chetty was associated with Madras Native Association, which was formed in 1852, taking inspiration from this British Indian Association of Calcutta founded by Radhakant Dev. And Surendranath Banerjee was the one who formed Indian Association in 1876. This was formed in 1876. And who were the members associated with Madras Mahajan Sabha? You may be knowing G. Subramaniam Iyer, M. Veera Raghavachari and Anand Charlu, P. Anand Charlu. These were the people who were associated with Madras Mahajan Sabha, which was formed in 1884. G.L. Chetty was not associated with this. Next is, in the context of Indian history, the principle of diarchy. See, diarchy is something which have been asked by UPSC repeatedly. आगे भी आएगा, 2-3 बार पूछा जा चुका है. It has been asked twice, thrice. So if we see diarchy, it was introduced in 1919 Government of India Act, and it talked about the division of subjects into reserved and transferred in provinces. Where? In provinces. Division of central legislature into 2 houses? No. Introduction of double government? No. Division of subjects delegated to provinces? Yes. D is the right answer. So the British had divided the subjects into reserved subjects and transferred subjects. And those subjects which were reserved, basically they were reserved with Governor General and his council, and those who were transferred to the ministers, to the ministries. So those subjects which were politically important, they were reserved for the Governor General, and those who were light or not that politically significant, they were transferred to the ministries. There 2-3 questions more have been asked. We will see this in detail in those questions. So as you are seeing, UPSC is asking questions again and again from organization, acts. He wrote biography of Mazzini. We are seeing 2018 questions. He wrote biography of Mazzini, Garibaldi, Shivaji and Sri Krishna. He stayed in America for some time and he was also elected to the Central Assembly. So which of these were, which of the following fulfills all these conditions? Basically the answer is Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai was the person who had written all these biographies. He was elected to Central Assembly in 1923. In addition to that, he had been in United States for some time, where he had formed the Home Rule League. As you know, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant were leading the Home Rule movement in India, whereas Lala Lajpat Rai had formed the All India Home Rule League in United States. So the answer is Lala Lajpat Rai, C. Next question is regarding Wood's dispatch. Which of the following statements are correct? First is grant in aid system was introduced. This is correct. First thing is Wood's dispatch is related to education. It is related to education reform, and when it came in 1854. So if we see the Wood's dispatch, it was related to education system and it talked about grants in aid. This is correct. Establishment of universities was recommended. This is also correct. Why? This dispatch suggested that university in Calcutta, in Madras and in Bombay should be opened on the line of Calcutta University, and accordingly Calcutta University, Madras University and Bombay University were opened in 1857. So this is also correct. Next is English as a medium at sea. Here is the catch. At all levels of education, it cannot be there. It had recommended only English for the higher education. At the primary level, it talked about the vernacular education. So this is wrong. So answer is only 1 and 2. After the Santhal uprising subsided, what were the measures? So this is related to the Santhal uprising taken by the colonial government. The territories called Santhal Pargana was created. This is correct. To placate those who were protesting or those who had rebelled, the government created a separate area for them called Santhal Pargana. So this is correct. Second is it became illegal for Santhal to transfer land to non-Santhal. This is also correct. Government enacted a law that is called Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act in 1876. According to Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act, a tribal cannot transfer its land to a non-tribal. So yes, this is also correct. It prohibited transfer of Adivasi land to non-Adivasi people. And from this we can see what are the areas UPSC is targeting. One is the tribal and peasant revolt, which is a favorite area. Another is various educational reforms, whether it is Wood's dispatch. Next it will also count that 1813 Act had provision for education. It will also come. So education related things, Anglicist and Orientalist controversy UPSC has asked. So such type of questions are asked from educational reforms, constitutional developments. We should be thorough with them. Next question is economically, one of the results of British rule in India was. So economy, as I told you, British policies have been asked before also. We just saw Rayatwari settlement. Now see again economics thing. One of the result of the British rule, increase in the export of Indian handicraft. Rather it reverse of that. Growth in the number of Indian owned factories. No, Indian handicrafts and textile finished because of the British. Commercialization of Indian agriculture. This is correct. British introduced the commercial crops. Commercialization of agriculture started. Various crops like tea, coffee, tobacco, sugarcane, cotton. These things were promoted. So yes, commercialization of Indian agriculture was the result. The staple commodities of export by the English East India Company from Bengal. So the commodities of export from Bengal in 18th century it is talking about. What are the answers? Can we eliminate something? First is raw cotton, oil seeds. See, oil seeds in Bengal areas, it is not there. Then it is saying zinc and lead. We have not heard this in Bengal area. Copper, silver, gold, spices and tea. See, tea was later introduced in Darjeeling by the British itself. It was not there earlier. So tea also cannot be there. Only answer left is cotton, silk, saltpeter and opium were the commodities which were exported from Bengal to the Europe. So answer is D. Next question is, who among the following were the founders of Hind Mazdoor Sabha established in 1948? This is as such a very difficult question because a very obscure organization about which nothing much is given in the routine book. But if you see the answers, आप इसको कर सकते हैं. कैसे? Founders of Hind Mazdoor Sabha. Name itself is saying Hind Mazdoor Sabha. The name is a typical North Indian name, Hind Mazdoor. You see the first answer, B. Krishna Pillai, E.M.S. Namboodiripad and K.C. George. All are South Indians. Next is Jayaprakash Narayan, Deen Dayal Upadhyay and M.N. Rai. You just imagine Jayaprakash Narayan and Deen Dayal Upadhyay. Deen Dayal Upadhyay was from the Jansangh background and Jayaprakash Narayan was from different background, a socialist. So both cannot come together, and in fact M.N. Rai was from completely different background, communist background. So all three cannot come together to form Hind Mazdoor Sabha. Next is C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, K. Kamaraj and Veer Salingam Pantulu. Again same problem, three South Indians coming together to form an association whose name is completely North Indian. The only option left is D, that is Ashok Mehta, T.S. Ramanujam and G.G. Mehta. But yes, in exam conditions these are not easy to solve. So answer is D. Which one of the following is a very significant aspect of Champaran Satyagraha? From freedom struggle, from freedom movement, and lot of questions are asked. Champaran Satyagraha, it is saying significant aspect. Active all India participation of lawyers, students and women. Nothing like this. Active involvement of Dalit and tribal. Not related to this. Yes, this is the answer. Joining of peasant unrest to India's national movement. Yes, Champaran Satyagraha was the peasant unrest which linked the struggle of the peasants to the national struggle. So yes, this is correct. It is C. It happened in 1917 and Gandhi ji had himself joined this. Seeing the next slide. Which of the following statement does not apply to the system of subsidiary alliance introduced by Lord Wellesley? Question number 75. So if we see this question, does not apply, we should read the question carefully. To maintain a large standing army at others' expense, this is correct, but it is asking does not apply, so not correct for this question. To maintain a large standing army, yes. To keep India safe from Napoleonic danger, yes. This was also an aim because this was the time when the danger of Napoleon was rising for the British and he had come up to Egypt. So there was a fear, and that was also one of the reasons for the system of subsidiary alliance introduced by Wellesley. Next is to secure a fixed income for the company. This was not part of the subsidiary alliance. There was no scheme to earn a fixed income. To establish British paramountcy over the Indian states. Yes, this was also a part of it. So question is asking does not apply. So answer C is correct. Which of the following led to the introduction of English education? See, again education coming. We just saw Wood's dispatch and again education is coming. Which of the following led to the introduction of English education in India? First is Charter Act of 1813. Second is General Committee of Public Instruction 1823. And third is Orientalist and Anglicist controversy. So if we see the answer for this, this act provided for 1 lakh rupees for the education. This General Committee of Public Instruction was also for English education only, and this whole controversy, this was also related to introduction of English education only. So this all three are correct. Answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. All 3 are correct. But education reform is an area from which UPSC generally asks questions. If we see the next question, in 1920, which of the following changed its name to Swaraj Sabha? Actually, it was All India Home Rule League. Gandhi ji very reluctantly accepted the leadership of the Home Rule League, and then he changed its name to Swaraj Sabha. So the answer is A. Hindu Mahasabha was formed in 1915, as you may be knowing. Malviya ji was associated with this, Madan Mohan Malviya. Then South Indian Liberal Federation. South Indian Liberal Federation was formed by Periyar, and Servants of India Society was formed by गोपाल कृष्ण गोखले. गोखले साहब ने बनाया था 1905 में, और साउथ इंडियन लिबरल फेडरेशन को किसने बनाया था? पेरियार जी ने बनाया था. ये भी कब बनाया था? 1916 में, in 1916. This was formed in 1916. This was formed in 1905. But the correct answer is A. Gandhi ji changed the name of All India Home Rule League to Swaraj Sabha. Next question. Which of the following events happened earliest? Swami Dayanand established Arya Samaj 1875. As I was talking about, chronology related questions are coming in UPSC. Swami Dayanand Saraswati 1875. Deen Bandhu Mitra wrote Neel Darpan. What was the time? 1859. So it was the time of 1859 when he had written Neel Darpan. Next is Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay wrote Anand Math. What was the time? 1882. And next is Satyendranath Tagore became the first Indian to succeed in Indian Civil Service, 1863. It is asking happened the earliest. So earliest is Deen Bandhu Mitra, who wrote Neel Darpan, where he expressed the sufferings, the pain of the indigo farmers, indigo peasants who were oppressed by the planters. So correct answer is B. If we see the next question. With reference to the educational institutions during colonial rule, consider the following pairs. Consider following pairs, sorry. First is Sanskrit College at Banaras, William Jones. No. Sanskrit College at Banaras was opened by Jonathan Duncan. Jonathan Duncan in 1791. What William Jones did? He established Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1784. So he was associated with Asiatic Society. He was not associated with Sanskrit College at Banaras. Another is Calcutta Madrasa. That is correct. Calcutta Madrasa was established by Warren Hastings. And the next is Fort William College. This is correct. Warren Hastings had established this. Fort William College was, see, here is the catch. Arthur Wellesley was the brother of Lord Wellesley, who had started the subsidiary alliance system, as we saw in the previous slide. So it was not Arthur Wellesley, rather it was Lord Wellesley. So there was a catch. So answer to this is only 2. B only. Arthur Wellesley was the one who had led the army against Tipu Sultan at Battle of Seringapatam. He had fought Tipu Sultan. So he was not associated with the Fort William College, which was opened for the training of civil servants in India in 1798. So only 2 is correct. Next question is the first democratically elected Communist Party government formed. See, again chronology related question. When was the first democratic elected government was formed? In 1957. Where? In Kerala. And who was the head or chief minister? As we just saw, E.M.S. Nambudri Pad was the person who was leading this government in Kerala in 1957. Then is India's then largest bank was renamed State Bank of India. Basically, is he talking about? It was 1955. Air India was nationalized in 1953. This is difficult to remember. Goa became a part of independent area 1962. So basically you have to arrange these two. So if you arrange 3, then 2, then 1, and then 4. 3, 2, 1, 4 is the answer. So answer is B. B is the correct choice. So if we see the nature of questions, it is coming again and again. Organizations, educational reforms, chronology related questions, all these things are coming again and again in modern history portion. See the 2019 questions. Again, Charter Act of 1813. It ended the trade monopoly of the East India Company in India except trade in tea and trade with China. This is correct. It ended the trade monopoly, only exception were tea and China. Next, it asserted the sovereignty of the British Crown over the Indian territories held by. This is also correct. It asserted the sovereignty. Revenues were now controlled by the British Parliament. No, this is wrong. It extended the control of the company over revenue and possessions in India by 20 years. So it did not go with the British Parliament. So this is wrong. So answer is 1 and 2. Answer is 1 and 2. With reference to the Swadeshi movement, consider the following statements. With reference to the Swadeshi movement again coming into picture. Already 2-3 times it has been asked. It contributed to the revival of the indigenous artisan crafts and industries. This is correct. The name itself says that there was focus on Swadeshi, that is the indigenous industries, whether it is soap industry, match industry, tanneries, textiles, banks, insurance companies. So all these Swadeshi alternatives were promoted. The National Council of Education, it was established in 1906 as a part of Swadeshi movement. This is also correct. So both are correct. Answer is C. Answer is C. If we see the next question, again various organizations have been asked. It is saying All India Anti-Untouchability League. Yes, Mahatma Gandhi had established in 1932. So this is correct. All India Kisan Sabha was established by Swami Sahajanand Saraswati. This is correct. In Lucknow in 1936, Swami Sahajanand Saraswati was its president and N.G. Ranga was the secretary. So this is also correct. And self-respect movement was by E.B. Ramaswamy Naikar. This is also correct. In 1920s, he had started self-respect movement for the lower caste, especially for the non-Brahmin. So all are correct. Answer is D. But the idea is organizations. UPSC keep on asking different organizations, their leaders, their time of formation. All these things are repeatedly asked. If we see the next question, with reference to the British colonial rule in India, which of the following statements are correct? It is asking for correct statement. Gandhi ji was instrumental in the abolition of system of indentured labor. This is correct. Gandhi ji had campaigned for the abolition of this indentured labor, under which Indian people were taken to the different places, different countries, which we call girmitiyas. They were taken to different places for manual labor. So yes, this is correct. In Lord Chelmsford War Conference, this was organized in 1918, this war conference, and in this Gandhi did not support the resolution on recruiting. This is wrong. Gandhi had supported the recruitment of Indians for the war. So this is wrong. Consequent upon the breaking of salt law by Indian people, Congress was declared illegal. Yes, Congress was banned. It was declared illegal after the breaking of the salt law. So 2 is wrong, 1 and 3 is correct. So answer will be B, 1 and 3 only. If we see the next question, with reference to the Indian national movement, consider the following pairs: persons and position held. Again, person and the organization. Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, he was the president of All India Liberal Federation. This is correct. Sapru ji was a liberal person. He had founded this All India Liberal Federation. And who else were associated with this? Surendranath Banerjee was also associated with this. Surendranath Banerjee. K.C. Niyogi. K.C. Niyogi, you may have heard about. He was the first chairperson of Finance Commission of India. The first Finance Commission was chaired by whom? K.C. Niyogi. He was a member of Constituent Assembly from Bengal. So this is also correct. P.C. Joshi was General Secretary of Communist Party of India. This is also correct. Joshi ji was associated with Communist Party of India. He was the General Secretary. So correct answer is D. All are correct. Seeing the next slide, 2020. So we have seen till 2019. If we see the 2020, one common agreement between Gandhi and Marxism is, it is talking about the agreement between Gandhism and Marxism. See, class struggle. Gandhi ji never talked about class struggle. He always talked about class cooperation. Abolition of private property. No, Gandhi ji did not advocate for private property. Rather, his model was trusteeship model. So it cannot be abolition. Economic determinism. No. So what is the correct choice? A. The final goal of a stateless society. Marx was definitely for a stateless society, and Gandhi ji was also for a stateless society. Gandhi ji also thought of a society, or his vision of Swaraj were very utopian. He said that when everyone will have Swaraj, which means everyone have control over the self, everyone can regulate himself, herself. That is the self-regulating system he talked about when he talked about Swaraj. So basically it was a stateless kind of thing only. He also talked about this stateless kind of society. His concept of self-regulation, where everybody is one's own ruler, is basically answer is A. With reference to the history of India, consider the following pairs. One is Orang. Orang in charge of the treasury of the state. No, this is wrong. Why? Orang is for warehouse. It is a Persian word for warehouse. Next is Banyan, Indian agent of the East India Company. This is correct. As we know, the West community, or called Banya community, so Banyan is coming from there, Indian agent of the East India Company. Another is Mirasidar, designated revenue payer to the state. This is also correct. So answer is 2 and 3. The terminology which comes in ancient and medieval, sometimes they make appearance in modern also. With reference to the book Desar Katha, this is a difficult question. Why? Generally it is not given in any book. It is given where there is a book by Isita Banerjee Dubey. From there UPSC has picked this. Desar Katha, written by Sakharam Ganesh Deoskar during freedom struggle. Consider the following statements. These two statements have been directly picked from Isita Banerjee Dubey book. It warned against the colonial state's hypnotic conquest of mind. This is correct. It inspired the performance of Swadeshi street plays and folk songs. This is also correct. The use of Desh by Deoskar was in a specific context of region of Bengal. This is wrong. There has been a lot of debate on this question, but the UPSC has given the final answer, and answer is 1 and 2 only. Answer 3 is wrong. It was not just Bengal. Basically, Sakharam Ganesh Deoskar, he was a Marathi who was staying in then Bengal region, but it included at that point of time Bihar also in Bengal. So basically Deoghar is a place where he was staying, and there he had written this book. So it was not just related to the region of Bengal, rather the base included the Indian context. So answer is only 1 and 2. This was a difficult question, last question, because it is not given in the routine book. The next is the Vital Vidwansak, the first monthly journal to have Untouchable as its target audience, was published by. The correct answer is Gopal Baba Langkar. He was associated with Mahar movement in Maharashtra, and he had started this Vital Vidwansak. The name itself says the destroyer of the Brahmanical or ceremonial idea of pollution, purity, these things. He He had started this, keeping that in mind in 1888. The Gandhi-Irvin Pact included which of the following? As you may be knowing, this Gandhi-Irvin Pact had happened in 1931, and it included invitation to Congress to participate. This is correct. Withdrawal of ordinances promulgated in connection with civil disobedience movement. This is also correct. Acceptance of Gandhi's suggestion for inquiry into police excesses. This is not correct. There was no acceptance of this proposal. Release of only those prisoners who were not charged with violence. This is also correct. Gandhi ji had negotiated that those who were not charged with violence, they should be released. So answer is 1, 2 and 4. Gandhi-Irvin Pact has been asked before also. Again it has been asked. In the context of Indian history, this case, Rakmabai case, where it is given in the book of Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, Plassey to Partition. This is also a difficult question. It talked about, it revolved around. Basically, this Rakmabai, she was just 11-year-old when she was married to a old person, and then she went on to become a doctor. Her husband basically filed a case seeking the restitution of his conjugal right, basically resumption of his marriage, but it was challenged by Rakmabai, and who all supported? There was a Rakmabai Defense Committee formed under the leadership of Bahramji Malawari, and they won the case. So if we see this, it was related to women's right to gain education. No, it was not related to women's right to gain, rather it was related to age of consent and restitution of conjugal right. So answer is 2 and 3. There was also a lot of debate and many people included 1 as an answer, but the correct answer UPSC is given is 2 and 3 only. And because of this campaign, age of consent bill 1891 was passed, which raised the minimum marriage age of the boys and girls. So the correct answer is 2 and 3. But this was also a very difficult question, not given in the routine book. The next question is, indigo cultivation in India declined by the beginning of the 20th century. Why indigo cultivation declined? Because of the peasant resistance to the oppressive conduct. Peasant resistance was definite, but it is saying beginning of the 20th century. So this cannot be the reason. It's unprofitability in the world. Yes, this is correct. Basically, a number of synthetic dyes, artificial dyes were invented, and because of that, it was not profitable in the world market, and that's why its cultivation declined. So answer is B. Wellesley, see again, Fort William College is coming again. Wellesley established the Fort William College at Calcutta because he was asked by board of directors to do so. He wanted to revive interest in Oriental learning. He wanted to provide carry associated employment. See here, he wanted to train the British civilians for admin. I already told you it was set up in 1798 by Lord Wellesley to train the civil servants. So yes, it was for the training purpose. With reference to the history of India, Ul-Gulan or the Great Tumult is the description of, as you may be knowing, this is related to Birsa Munda's revolt of 1899-1900, which is called Ul-Gulan movement also. So the correct answer is D. So as I was discussing, various peasants movement, tribal movements, as well as the works done by different governor generals, they are repeatedly asked in the modern portion. If we see the next question, this is another area from which UPSC these days is asking question, that is the factories being set up by Portuguese, Dutch, English, Danes, French in the initial years. It is saying in the first quarter of 17th century. So it is specifying the time from 1601 to 1625, because it is talking about the first quarter. In which of the following were the factories of English East India Company located? So it has fixed the timeline, and if we see the timeline, only answer correct is Bharuch. Why? Because during this period only in Surat, Bharuch, Ahmedabad, British had set up factories. This Chinchole and this Trichy, which was earlier called Trichinopoli, this was not there at that point of time. They came under the British control later on. So the correct answer will be 1 only. 1 only is the correct answer. Why? Because if we see Trichy, it came under the factory at Trichy was set up in later part of the 17th century, and Chicha Kole, if we see, it was a textile center which was taken over by British from Hyderabad estate in 1766. So this cannot be correct. With reference to the Madana Palle of Andhra, which of the following statement is correct? Madana Palle is where? It is in Chittoor district of Andhra Pradesh. Pingali Venkaiah designed the tricolor Indian hair. No, he had done this where? In Vijayawada in 1921 during the non-cooperation movement. So this cannot be correct. Second thing is, Pattabi Sitaramaiah led the Quit India movement of Andhra region from here. See, Pattabi Sitaramaiah was arrested immediately after the launch of the Quit India movement. So this also cannot be correct. He was in jail, so how can he continue his movement here? Rabindranath Tagore translated the national anthem from Bengali to English here. This is the correct answer, C. Rabindranath Tagore in February 1919 had translated this here. Another is Madam Blavatsky and Colonel Alcott set up headquarters of Theosophical first here. No, they had set up where? Theosophical Society's India's headquarters at Adyar in Madras in 1882. So this cannot be correct. They had not set up the headquarters at Chittoor or Madanapalle. So correct answer is C. And where it is given? It is given in class 6 NCERT. In class 6 NCERT, this has been given. Consider the following statements. Montagu-Chelmsford reform. See, again Montagu-Chelmsford is coming. Various constitutional developments keep on coming again and again. Recommended granting voting rights to all. Here is the catch. All the women above the age of 21. This cannot be possible. Very few women were given this. The Government of India Act of this gave women reserved seats in legislature. This is correct. Government of India Act of 35 had given them reserved seats. So answer correct is 2 only. Moving to the next slide. With reference to the 8th August 1942 in Indian history, which of the following? See, this is correct. Quit India resolution was adopted by All India Congress Committee here, and Quit India movement was launched from Gwalior Tank in Bombay. So correct answer is A. Who among the following is associated with Songs from Prison, a translation of ancient Indian religious lyrics in English? When Gandhiji was imprisoned, he utilized his time in prison to translate Upanishads as well as some of the writings of Indian saints, and he wrote this Songs from Prison. So correct answer is Mahatma Gandhi. He was at that time kept in the Yeravada jail in Pune, and from there he wrote this Songs from Prison. Next question, who among the following was associated as secretary with Hindu female school which came to be known as Bethune Female School? Yes, if you see the Bethune Female School, it was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Anyway, he was a educationist. He was associated with the education of children, education of women, and he also campaigned for widow remarriage. So correct answer is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. If we see the next question, in the context of colonial India, Shahnawaz Khan, Prem Kumar Sehgal and Gurbakh Singh Dhillon were remembered as? 3 names. One is Muslim, another is Hindu, and another is Sikh, and all 3 were associated with, they were basically associated with the officers of the Indian Naval Army. The officers of Azad Hind Fauj or Indian Naval Army, they were court-martialed where in the Red Fort, but it boomeranged on the British, and the public sympathies were raised in the favor of these officers, but they were they were the officers of the Indian National Army who became heroes, patriotic heroes overnight. Consider the following statements. Here see, UPSC is mixing current affairs thing along with the history portion. 21st century is declared to be the International Mother Language Day by UNICEF. Here is the catch. UPSC want you to be very attentive while attempting the paper. Very attentive, very careful. UNICEF is related to what? It is related to the welfare of children. It is not at all related to culture. What should have been? It should have been UNESCO. So here is the catch. So this is wrong. Demand that Bangla has to be, this is common sense, one of the national languages was raised in the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. This is correct. Why? Because earlier Pakistan was composed of two Pakistan, West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. So the people from Bangladesh, they are obviously very closely related to their culture. They take pride in their culture. They celebrate their culture and their language. So they had the leaders from that part of Pakistan, they had raised the issue of making Bangla as one of the national language. In fact, this was one of the reason of the liberation of Bangladesh, because Pakistanis were imposing Urdu on the Bangladeshi people and they refused to obey that, and that led to the liberation of Bangladesh. So this is correct. So answer is 2 only. Seeing the next question. So we are coming to the 2022, and again see Government of India Act of 19. It had come 3-4 times in 7-8 years. And Government of India Act, what it talks about, the function of provincial government. As I told you, there were 2 types of subjects: reserved subjects and transferred. Reserved were the ones who were vitally important, politically important, and transferred were the ones who were not politically that important. Let's see which were the following were reserved subjects. Administration of justice, yes, it was reserved. They will not give it to the Indians. Local self-government, they had given to the Indians. So this was transferred subject. If you eliminate 2 only, you can get the answer 1, 3, 4. Land revenue was also a reserved subject, and police, obviously British will never give to the Indians. It was also a reserved subject. So answer is C. Subjects like local self-government, subjects like health, subjects like education, these were given to the Indians. So these were basically transferred subject. Consider the following freedom fighters. First is Barindra Kumar Ghosh, second is Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, and third is Ras Bihari Bose. Who of the following were actively associated with Gadar party? So only Ras Bihari Bose was associated with Gadar party. Gadar party was formed in United States, and who all were associated? Lala Hardyal was associated with Gadar party. Lala Hardyal was associated with Gadar party, and Ras Bihari Bose was associated. Sohan Singh Bhakna was associated. These were the people who were associated with Gadar movement. It was formed in 1913 in United States. Barinder Kumar Ghosh, he was associated with Anusilan Samiti. He was associated with Anusilan Samiti. And Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee. Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee is one of the unsung hero who was also associated with Anusilan Samiti and then Hindustan Republic Association, Hindustan Republican Association, and then he later went on to become Rajya Sabha MP also. But these were not related to Gadar movement. Answer is 3 only. This Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee is given where there is a site of Indian government where it has documented unsung heroes of Indian freedom movement. In that it had included Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee. Moving to the next question. With reference to the proposals of Cripps, again Cripps is coming. See how frequently these topics are repeated. Cripps Mission, 1919 Act, Gadar, these are repeated over time. So if we see the Cripps Mission, consider the following statements. The Constituent Assembly would have members nominated by provincial assemblies as well as princely state. Here is the catch. Why? Because Cripps Mission said that it will have members nominated by princely state but elected by provincial assemblies, not nominated by provincial assemblies. So this is wrong. Princely states will nominate but provincial assemblies will elect. So both cannot be nominated. So that's why this is wrong. any province which is not prepared to accept would have the right to sign a separate agreement with British regarding. Yes, this is correct, and that this was the fear why the Congress has rejected this, because there was chance of balkanization of India if we accept this statement. So the correct answer is 2 only. With reference to the Indian history, consider the following statements. Dutch considered their factories. See, as I was talking about this, UPSC is asking for last 2-3 years question directly from the factories established by English, Dutch, French, Portuguese, Danes. So we should be thorough with this. So Dutch established the factories on the east coast on land granted by Gajpati rulers. This question you can only solve if you know the timeline of Gajpati ruler and the Dutch. If we see the Dutch, they had established their factory after 1600, and these Gajpati rulers, they had existed from, so only in 15th and 16th century Gajpati rulers were there, whereas the factories were established by Dutch in 17th century. So this cannot be correct, so that's why it's wrong. And where Dutch had started factory, they had started in Masulipatam, Pulicat, Chinsura in Bengal. These were the areas where they had established factories. So this is wrong. Alfonso de Albuquerque captured Goa from the Bijapur Sultan. This is correct. Adil Shahi, ruler of Bijapur, were there ruling at that point of time. So Albuquerque in 1510 had taken Goa from them. So this is correct. English East India Company established a factory at Madras on a plot of land leased from a representative of Vijayanagar Empire. This is also correct. It had taken a land from where? Representative of Vijayanagar Empire. It was a local Raja, Benkadri Naika. Naikas were earlier the feudatories of Vijayanagar Empire, and later they went on to become the local Rajas. So Venkadri Naika was the local ruler from which the British had taken this land. So this is also correct. So answer is 2 and 3. Moving to the next slide. That is the last slide, 2023, and this year only 3 questions have been asked. But if we see the trend questions are on familiar line. Which one of the following acts Governor General of Bengal became Governor General of India? Very simple, the answer is D, Charter Act of 1833. Consider the following statement. See, Swadeshi movement again coming into paper, but this time they have done what? They have mixed a current question with a static portion. So as I was discussing, Swadeshi movement was launched on 7 August 1905. It was in 1905 that the Swadeshi movement was launched on the same day. This is correct, 7th August. And 7th August is declared as National Handloom Day. This is also correct. When this started? In 2015. Earlier it was not celebrated, but from 2015 the government of India started celebrating 7 August as National Handloom Day to honor the handloom weavers, to make their products accessible to the people, to highlight their contribution to the economy. So yes, 1 is also correct, 2 is also correct, and this is also a explanation also. Only because of the Swadeshi movement that government accepted that day as National Handloom Day. Next question is with respect to Constitution Day. So here basically current affairs and static is being mixed. If we see the Constitution Day, similar attempt by the UPSC. Constitution Day is celebrated on 26th November every year to promote constitutional value, correct? On 26th November 1949, this is a current affairs part. This is static. The Constituent Assembly set up a drafting committee under the Ambedkar to prepare. No, this is wrong. On this day, Constituent Assembly did not set up the drafting committee. Rather, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India when? On 26th November 1949, which came into force on 26th January 1950. So this is wrong. So only statement 1 is correct. So that's all in this 8 years of questions from 2016. As I told you, I have discussed question from 2016 till 2023. Now we will be seeing what are the important areas, what are the areas from which UPSC is asking questions repeatedly. In fact, you have also yourself seen a lot of areas from which UPSC is asking questions repeatedly. So the first area is constitutional developments. First area is constitutional developments, various acts from 1773 Regulating Act till 1935 Government of India Act. Various acts have come and UPSC is asking questions again and again from them, and in addition to that they are including in them also the Cripps Mission, Constituent Assembly related issues, then the educational reforms, factory reforms. All these things UPSC is asking again and again. So this is one area which should be prepared thoroughly. Another area from which UPSC is asking question is political organizations. A lot of political organizations, whether it is Ghadar Party, whether it is Liberal Federation, whether it is Indian National Army, all these things are coming again and again. So this is also another area from which UPSC is asking questions again and again. Another thing from which UPSC is asking question is peasant and tribal uprising and their impact and their impacts. Like they had asked about Santhal uprising and its impact, which was Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act. In the same way, they asked about this Indigo Rebellion and its impact. So they are asking again and again about peasant and tribal movement and their impact. In addition to this, another favorite area for UPSC is socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. Movements as well as people associated with them, like Satyasodhak Samaj was asked, like Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was asked, like Indian Reform Association was asked, and Keshav Chandra Sen was asked. So the leaders of socio-religious reform movement, Arya Samaj was asked. So the leaders as well as their associations and their works are repeatedly asked by the UPSC in this. In addition to this, what are the other areas which UPSC keeps on asking questions if we see? One is obviously the freedom struggle. Freedom struggle and associated movements, associated events, whether it is Swadeshi movement, whether it is non-cooperation movement, Champaran Satyagraha, whether it is Quit India movement, all these things associated with freedom struggle as well as important personalities associated with them, whether it is Gandhiji, whether it is Lala Lajpat Rai, all these things are repeatedly asked, so we should focus on them also. In addition to that, another area which UPSC is asking again and again is the factories. As I told you, in last 2-3 years, factories established by English, Dutch, French, these things are being specifically asked, so it's better to prepare them. And then another thing which UPSC is doing is combining current with static. Current plus static, as we saw, taking one statement from static portion, taking one statement from current portion and then mixing them. We saw in Swadeshi movement, we saw in Constituent Assembly wala. So these are the things UPSC is doing. So these are the areas you should focus, these are the areas which you should keep in mind for 2024 prelims. So that's all in today's analysis of modern history. Thank you.